Many people who dream of starting an Airbnb business on the African continent, or basically any business, believe that the biggest challenge is finding trustworthy staff that won't steal from you. But when I started my first Airbnb here in Africa, my biggest challenge wasn't finding trustworthy and reliable cleaners. It was challenging the voices around me. People who insisted I treat staff a certain way. Everyone kept telling me, you need to treat your staff in a way so that they fear you. Remember, this is not Europe. You're in Africa now. If you treat them too nice, they will walk over you. They will disrespect you and take advantage of you. You know, sadly, here on the African continent, there is this mindset shaped by class, colonialism, and survival that not many people talk about. A mindset that teaches staff to fear power, expect exploitation, and never dream beyond their job title. And a mindset that teaches employers to lead with control, fear, suspicion, and sometimes unspoken superiority. But what happens when you try to break that cycle and start leading with trust, with respect, values, and vision? Let me show you what that looked like for me, not in theory, but in real life. I remember I was sitting in the kitchen in my first Airbnb in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, together with my family and my cleaner having lunch. It was a normal day. We were chatting about work, about life, about how hard life is in the mountains where we're from, and especially for girls. And my cleaner was from the mountains. She started working with me 2 months before, and she was a school dropout. And in our society, and I would say in most parts of rural Ethiopia, when a girl drops out of school, she either needs to get married or she needs to find a job. And the cleaner that was working for me at that time was a 17-year-old school dropout. And at some point in the conversation, I asked her if going back to school in the evenings to finish her degree was an option, and I encouraged her to do so. I told her, listen, you're still young. You're not here to stay a cleaner forever. Learn, grow, use your time here to build a future. Because to me, this wasn't just a job for her. I saw this as a stepping stone. But then after lunch, my cousin pulled me aside and asked me, why are you treating staff like friends? Remember, this is not Europe. You're in Africa now. If you treat her like that, she will take advantage of you. She will disrespect you. And that just didn't sit right with me. Because you see, a few years earlier, I was the child of a cleaner in Germany. My mother cleaned homes and she was always respected, even treated like part of the family. One of her employers, a very lovely and kind German lady who worked as a teacher, supported my mom by helping me with my homework. She didn't have to, but she did. And that changed the trajectory of my entire life. Without that support, I wouldn't be where I am today. That experience of seeing how my mom's employers always chose respect over hierarchy shaped me. It taught me that every worker, regardless of their job title, deserves to be treated with respect. And not just because it's morally right, but because respect is the foundation of loyalty, growth, and trust. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that every low-paid worker in Germany is treated with respect. And on the flip side, I don't believe that every low-paid worker on the African continent is disrespected. But let's be real. In many places of the African continent, low-paid workers such as nannies, cleaners, security guards, or maids are often not treated with the dignity they deserve. Therefore, when I started my first Airbnb business on the African continent, I saw my team, my drivers, my cleaners, my maids, not as employees, but as partners. One of the first people I hired was a young girl from the mountains, and she just arrived in Addis. She barely spoke English, was also a school dropout, and had no formal work experience. And the people around me advised me to pay her the minimum, to restrict her movements, and to manage her through fear. But you know what I did instead? I paid her above average. I encouraged her to go to school, as mentioned earlier. I paid for her evening classes and private English lessons. And a year later, she asked me if she could visit her family, and so I gave her 3 weeks off. And we decided on 3 weeks. However, when the 3 weeks ended, she just decided to stay longer without telling me. And of course, I had no other choice but to let her go and to find another cleaner. And everyone around me started saying, You see, I told you so. She will disrespect you. She will take advantage of you. She will walk over you. I hope you learned your lesson now. But let me tell you something. I didn't regret my decision for a second. I still believed in leading with values. And so I hired another girl. Again, she was very young, I think around 18 or 19. Also a school dropout, also from the countryside. Barely spoke English, just arrived in Addis Ababa. And again, I encouraged her to go to school, invested in her private English lessons and her school education. One day she shared with me that she dreams of becoming an accountant. And so I paid for her education. And I knew that this would mean that one day she would leave me. But I didn't even hesitate. You know, she was so kind, honest, hardworking, a cleaner that everyone could dream of. But even if this support would mean losing her, there was no other option for me but to support her, because I would never want a young girl with potential to stay a cleaner forever. But instead, I always feel the desire to empower, to share the lessons that I've learned, to see that person grow, you know. And because she was an amazing person, she was also able to build amazing relationship with my Airbnb guests, who also supported her. One of my Airbnb guests from Germany, who returned many times, one day surprised her with a laptop that would help her in her journey of becoming an accountant. And I also always put my stuff first. For example, one day a diplomat, he insulted her. He got into some kind of argument with her and insulted her as a dog. And she called me crying. And I didn't even flinch. I told him, listen, pack your bags. I refunded his money and he paid well, but I didn't care for the money because no paycheck is worth more than a person's dignity. I told him, please, nobody disrespects my people. They are like my family. So if you disrespect them, it means you're disrespecting me. Pack your bags and leave. All these experiences that I made of hosting on the African continent for almost 6 years now taught me a truth I live by. Your team is the backbone of your business, and dignity is non-negotiable. In Zanzibar, I follow the same principle. I respect their religious holidays. I give them bonus payments when they have, like for instance, Ramadan. I support their visions and dreams. Just a week ago, I'm right now here on the island of Zanzibar. My cleaner told me that she bought a piece of land and what she's planning to do with it. And even though that would mean I will lose her eventually, I'm so happy for her. I can't wait to support her in her journey of starting her own business. But you know what's the beautiful part? In return, your staff goes above and beyond. They take pride and ownership in their work when they feel that they are respected, when they feel valued. They protect my business as if it was their own. They warn me of scams. One day, one guy wanted to scam me and he wanted to collaborate with my worker and told her, listen, tell your boss the price is this and you and me, we can make 50-50 of the money that I charge extra. She immediately warned me and told me not to trust that person. You know, it's this real bonds of trust that I came to appreciate. And because they have taken so much ownership in the work and protect my business as if it's their own, it gives me so much freedom and time. So bottom line is, if you want to succeed with your Airbnb business in Africa or any business, this is the way. Unfortunately, too many societies on the African continent carry some kind of elitist thinking, which is shaped by histories of internal slavery and colonial legacies. You know, they look down on cleaners and casual workers. But we can break that cycle. We can lead by example, pay fairly, empower people, uplift others, and still win. In fact, I believe this is the only way to build a truly sustainable and successful business on the African continent. If you're thinking of starting or growing an Airbnb business here in Africa and want to learn the real strategies that make it work long term, then make sure you subscribe to my Home Base Africa newsletter. That's where I share the unfiltered lessons of running my Airbnb business here on the African continent, the mistakes that I've made, and the systems that actually help you succeed on the continent. It's practical, it's experience-based, and it's designed for those who are serious about building a sustainable Airbnb business on the African continent. I will put the link in the description of this video and I will also pin it in the comments below. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found some value in it, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Bye!